Travel and Things in association with Sun Destinations, iconic destinations with amazing experiences, present In Conversation With. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and my guest today is the author of this brand new book about Comrades Marathon, 100 years of highlights and heroes, written by the inimitable Tom Cottrell and published by Guidebook Publications. And before I introduce him, I have to share this particular image from Comrades with all of my viewers. And if you can't read that signboard, it says, "You still have more energy than Eskom." True enough. Tom, good morning. Welcome to you. Does that epitomize what Comrades is all about?
Morning, David. And yes, it captures Comrades, the spirit exactly. And even to the last runner, they still had more energy than Eskom has at the moment. And while we are here, I am going to say happy birthday. I want you to share a secret first. What year is this for you?
Well, it's a big one. It's 70 for me. Born in 53.
Ah, the big 7-0.
The big 7-0. So I joined an elite squad, I believe, of like-minded people, or like-aged people, I should say.
If you're a runner, you get to wear a GG on your vest now, not just a grandmaster, but great grandmaster.
So what happened to that fellow who was 80, who turned 81 this year and seems to have put in the most phenomenal time?
Wasn't that amazing? You know, there's all these discussions about the greatest Comrades runner ever.
Yeah.
But that has to rank up there somewhere. I mean, such a phenomenal run at that age is really something astounding.
You know, I remember running, let me nail my colors to the mast, and then I'm going to ask you how many you've run. I've completed 8. And one of them was with the legendary Liege Bull, grumpy old bugger that he was. And it was that fella.
That dates you.
It does indeed. And I think it was going to be his 40th, and they'd struck a special medal for him. But he didn't complete the race. So I don't know what's happened to that medal. Maybe it's at the Comrades Marathon offices waiting for somebody else to finish. But how many of those journeys did you complete?
David, I did 5. I did 4 before I had a motor car accident. And then, and those were in the old days when Comrades Marathon, the cutoff was 11 hours.
Yeah.
And then in the year 2000, when they gave us that extra hour, I'd broken my leg. I was told I'd never be able to run again. And, you know, you can't really say that to a runner, that you will never run again. So I stewed on it for 10 years. And when they gave us that extra hour, I said, thank you very much. And in the year 2000, I ran my 5th medal, and I made it by the skin of my teeth.
Well, I took some advice from you. We'll get into the book momentarily.
Yes.
I took some advice from you and phoned the Comrades Marathon offices recent day or so ago. And I said, listen, I used to run in 3305. And I stupidly made a promise to myself that if the number was still available, I'd run it again. Now, the last time I ran that number was 1983. You said to me, just check it out, which I did. And the woman says to me, your number is available. And I went, oh, no. She said, would you like me to lie? I said, no, it's too late. The number was only used 10. My number is actually completed 10 because a guy before me used it twice. I take it an up and a down from Pretoria Marathon Club. And then after I ran my last in 83, the number's never been utilized again. So maybe I'm going to drag you out of retirement to coach me to run next year. Just one more in my number.
David, it's never too late.
Not if there's an 81-year-old. All right, so the book. Let's get back to that, because that's why I wanted to talk to you. Firstly, why did you pick 101 years? You're not Cruella de Vil, Tom. There's not 101 Dalmatians.
No, I think it was pragmatic more than anything else. Comrades Marathon during COVID, put out a book in 2021 that covered 100 years.
Okay.
And I didn't want to get my book entangled in their launch or anything like that. I know that this book is completely different. It's not a coffee table book like theirs. But I thought I would stand back for a year or two just to give their book a chance before I launched my book.
All right, so tell us a bit about this book, because as you say, this is not a coffee table book. It isn't filled with color images of Bruce Fordyce in his vest running up Polly Shorts and shaking hands with a variety of different people as he passed them. It's the nuts and bolts of Comrades. This is the type of book that I really enjoy because it tells you the behind the scenes stuff, the things that maybe aren't spoken about that often. The fact that women and people of color didn't get to run the race till the 70s, for instance, and the race was started in 1921. You have to wonder why. Were the men scared?
I think, I think it was a different time. We lived in different times back in the 70s. Life was different then. Stupidly, you'd imagine the guys sitting around and saying, we can't let women run because they're just not strong enough. And they'll have the vapors and die if they ran the Comrades. I have to say that my wife, after my accident, carried on running, and she has 22 Comrades medals. So how's that for strong women?
Well, not only that, tell the people what happened to your number this year.
Yes. Well, of course, I went back to the Comrades Marathon and asked them if I could have my number back. And to my surprise, what I found is just like you, but I had to fight for it because when I ran in 2000, they'd already allocated my number to somebody else. And I asked, who is it? And they gave me the guy's name. I can't remember it now, but he was very kind, very generous. And he said, if it means so much to you, Tom, you can have your number back. So I got it back to run my last Comrades in 2000. So, and then I went to Comrades and said, please keep that number. You just never know what might happen. Well, it happened. My daughter said that she was going to run Comrades. In fact, that's her second Comrades. I think in 2016 it might have been, or 2017, she ran her first one in my number. What she didn't know at the time was that she is pregnant. So in fact, I think she should have had 2 medals.
I was about to say
number in that year.
There should be a special medal for pregnant women running.
Yeah, I went to them and made my case, but they said, look, we only got one entry form here. So
fair enough.
So, so it is fair.
Yeah, no, that is.
But yes, so my daughter ran this year again in my number. And what I'm hoping now is that the legend will continue.
Well, their grandchildren and all sorts of things that might eventually be, I don't know, coerced into running at least 2. You've got to do an up and a down, because just doing an up. Well,
already she's talking that way. So I think my number's safe for another run anyway.
As you and I spoke on the day, I think, or just before, there is no up and down. It's up in both directions or down in both directions. And Harrison Flats is not flat. It's up in both directions. And which
way you run it, Harrison Flats is up.
It is exactly. And people don't realize this. And then they say, oh, we'll wait for it down because the down run must be easier. And I go, you fools you. It's not easier because it's harder on your knees because you're fighting gravity all the time. And you end up, unlike Tete, who's going to have sore legs and a crick in his neck because he kept turning around to see where Peter was on the day. Your knees take a hammering on the down. The up is actually slightly easier.
Well, I love the story that Bruce Fordyce likes to tell about the difference between the up and the down.
Right.
And the up run, they say you're quite lucky if you run an up run because what happens is you only get a 2-day limp. Now, the real thing with the down run is you get a full 2-week limp.
You do.
Now but a 2-week limp does have some sort of currency, especially if you are a novice, because you want to tell everybody when you get back home that you've run the Comrades. And you always weave these little stories into any conversation about how your comrades went on the day. Now, at least, and of course, you can't wear your medal for 2 weeks. Everybody, they start avoiding you and they don't take your calls and stuff like that.
It's like the fisherman's story.
Least, yeah, but at least with a limp, and if it lasts that long, people will say, gee, Tom,
what happened?
How did you limping? How did you get that limp? And you say, it's nothing really. I just got it on my way down to Durban. Can I tell you about it?
Yeah, I'm going to say, sit down. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. I've got you for the next hour at least. But that being said, it's also very easy to spot Comrades runners the day after the event. Doesn't matter whether it's an up or a down. You'll see somebody standing on the curb and they're trying to figure out which leg to put off that edge. And if you walk up to them and you go, so what, all you have to do is say, what was your time? And the faces will normally light up and they will tell you in great detail what happened to them on the day. And then the two of you will help each other off the curb and to cross the road. Now, so tell us a bit about the book. How have you structured it? Why this particular format? And it's published by yourself, am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, David, it basically, always a good book starts off with the conversation that normally starts off with the words, why don't you? And I wrote a book about the Comrades Marathon. It was a coffee table type book. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's a hangover from Durban. I wrote a Comrades book in 1999 and launched it at the 2000 Comrades. And it took the race up to the year 1999. And what I did over COVID, it's crazy what we did over COVID to keep ourselves busy. But I started updating the book with no real intention of doing anything. I was writing year by year, decade by decade after the year 2000, going through all my notes and what have you. And I was putting it on my blog. And I'm busy writing. I've finished now writing a novel at the same time. And it was my editor who said to me, hey, Tom, why don't you make it into a book? And I said, well, Tracy, will you edit it then? And she said, but of course. And that really is how it started. It was really just to keep busy during COVID.
Right. Tom,
then it's the end of a why don't you type conversation.
So let's just go back to a young Tom Cottrell. Matric, yes. I'm assuming you passed it. I may be wrong, I don't know. What?
Well, I passed it, yes.
Are you still trying to figure out, like I am, how?
I went, I had no real parental guidance or anything. I didn't quite know what to do. I was brought up by my grandparents, so it meant pretty much after school, I had to go and find a job to just keep body and soul together. So I went and got a job in the bank. And one thing led to another. And while I was at the bank, I went to university, went to night school, and I did a BCom in accounting and law. And I became an accountant. And David, I was probably the most miserable accountant that God ever put breath into. And I really, after a while, I was working. I eventually landed up at Afrox, working as a contracts manager and as an admin manager. And I found myself being retrenched.
Oh, and wow.
I thought, life, and that was at the age of 40. And I thought life is now too short. I do not want to stay in the corporate world. I wasn't cut out for it. I really would not like to be an accountant anymore. So I came home and I said to my wife, look, I've been retrenched and I'm not going to look for a job. And I'm going to stay at home and I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to write books and I'm going to make a publishing company. And she quietly sort of nodded. I don't think she believed me. And I said, and you can work for me. I'm going to be the boss, and I'm not going to pay you. So,
well, at least the job description was very, very concise and very specific.
Quite clearly. And I said, but if you just give me 2 years of your life and do that and help me build a publishing enterprise, I'll take it from there. And much to her credit, we worked together for 6 years.
Right.
And then eventually one day she came to me and said, listen, Charlie Brown, this is enough. I can't take any more. I'm going back to be a teacher. And she went back to teaching.
Fair enough,
and that's really how it all started.
So my question, and you've gone off at a tangent. You didn't give me an opportunity to step in there, but never mind. I'm glad that we now know your backstory. Did you know at 18 that you would be knee deep in running history and specifically Comrades?
No. I had absolutely no idea. And really, at the age of 18, leaving school, I hardly even knew what the Comrades Marathon was. And I had no real interest in running.
Yeah. Because I started out
the was for rugby. And I was a forward, so I was a very slow runner.
Right. You know, I watched the Comrades this year with my wife, who's a medical doctor. And she was describing to me the body types of all the runners, like in the top 10. And she said to me, you can see that they are designed to run fast. They are ectomorphs. They are thin. They are wiry. They are geared to run. Big fat fellows will finish the Comrades because we've done that. All of us that are at the back are of that shape. And yet we finish. And I remember one year joking with Bruce Fordyce, saying to him, you know, it's all well and good finishing the race in 5.5 hours. And I've been on Drummond when he's finished and still have a half of the race. I said, but come and run at the back with us because you're not designed to run an 11-hour race. You're really not, because you want to be up there in the golds and the silvers or you're going home type of thing. You know, you don't have the stamina to run 11 hours. And it's true because those back runners, and you know this as well as I.
Yeah, no, he's definitely.
Yeah. He's definitely.
No, he's definitely built very different to you and I.
Oh,
I think I'm more of a swimmer because I'm built like a hippo.
But you know that hippos can't swim. They also can't float. They just drop to the bottom and run along the bottom. But that being said, Tom, I do believe that Comrades, and let's get serious for a moment, is the great leveler. It really and truly is. You can go out there with all sorts of thoughts in your mind, and on the day, that road will tell you whether you're going to live your dream or like that poor fellow who missed the cutoff by 10 minutes this year, yet still walked the entire length to get under the banner.
Yes.
You're going to end up like that. But there is a camaraderie, there is a family around Comrades. And because my wife said to me, you know, the year that I bailed, I got to Drummond and then realized I shouldn't have been there. And it took me a lot of courage to step into that bailing bus. It really and truly did. But I knew I wasn't going to finish. But the unwritten rule seems to be, if you're at the start line, you get to the finish line, even if you have to crawl.
Yes. But you know, David, I spend time on the press track for
I spent the whole day waving at you. You never saw me.
You know, it's it's a job that I absolutely love. I feel honored that the Comrades Marathon Association give me this job. It's totally voluntary, but really I get to see the race in a very unique way. And if ever you wanted to know what the real South Africa looks like, it's really to spend a bit of time on the Comrades Marathon route, to watch the spectators, to watch the runners, to watch the courage that we have as people, to watch the generosity that we have as people. And if ever you feel depressed about where this country is going, I wish we could just honestly take that day, that place, that road, the old Durban road for that day and bottle it, because it is such a special thing, and it is so South African.
It really and truly is. And I want to ask you, going back to the book, we'll keep returning to the book, because that's what this chat is all
we can
about.
talk about the book.
What and because 2023 is a highlight for a lot of people, for a variety of different reasons. People were glued to their TV sets, and I know there were about 17,700 runners this year. I predict that because of what happened in 2023, they're going to be close to 20,000 next year, people who are going to tackle it. But that's not my question. My question is highlights and lowlights for you. Not necessarily for Tom Cottrell, the runner, but of Comrades' experiences. And I think we should start with Mani Kun and Tommy Malone and what happened at that finish.
Goodness. You know, anybody who commentates on the race or looks at that race or digs into the history goes back to that race. I think it was 1967, was it? Or
somewhere around there, yeah.
And you know, the pictures and the film footage of that is absolutely amazing. And I know that there's a crazy story that when they ever got together and they had a dinner for the Comrades winners, they always had a bet on that they would go out after dinner into the car park and run around the car park to finish off the business to see who was really the winner of that race. And apparently none of them came home ever. They just disappeared into the night.
Because Mani could, the difference there was 1 second between first and second place. I mean, it's a ridiculous number. Malone, if he could have just stretched his fingertips, if he was like 6 foot, he would have won the race, even lying flat on the ground.
If he dived.
Yeah.
If he dived a little bit earlier. You know, it's iconic. And I think we will always refer back to that race as the closest of the races. But you know, there have been some close races in the finish, close finishes in the past as well. I can't. It was oh god, now I'm going to get myself into trouble. But there have been some very close races in the history of the race where only a couple of seconds separated first and second.
So if
that was this year too,
it was 6 seconds this year. I don't think Tete figured that Peter would come back. And in fact, I didn't think after Fields Hill and the little chat that the two of them had coming off Fields Hill, like, you weren't meant to do that. And now we're not going to give you water at the next watering point. I thought that the Dutchman would drop out or at least go backwards. But he didn't. He hung in there and he clawed back right till the last minute. 6 seconds, you know, it's negligible at that speed, at that pace.
And, you know, there's always the discussions of the what ifs. Now, imagine if that race finished in Moses Mabhida Stadium, would we have seen a different story?
Yeah.
Because that guy was closing fast.
I
saw it on the press track.
You would have. And I don't think people realize there was the last sort of kilometer. Although the camera foreshortened that distance, but it looked like they were virtually shoulder to shoulder. That would have been a really interesting finish.
He was coming.
Yeah. So now we see, this is what we do. We are all over the place, you and I, but it's fine. So if Tommy Malone and Mani Kun were sort of a high low light or a low highlight, I'm never quite sure how to put them. Where would you sort of put the Lindsay Waits, the Frith van der Merwes, who came back and who taught the guys that they're not going to have the vapors and fall over? And then along comes Gert de Steyn this year and goes, if you thought I was going to get the vapors, I'm going to teach you guys something. She ran her training. The guys that she was running with vanished. They were with her for the majority of the race, and then she just got to a point and said, "No, I want to finish this. Cheers. I'll see you guys in Durban."
Well, I suppose the one story of that is the Graham Fraser story, where back in 1989, when Frith broke her record, great, a girl, I'm going to just stop running. I'm going to leave the course. Yeah. And of course, there is that famous photograph of Frith going past him, and you see the back of him while he's running off the course. So, yeah. But, for me, it was an absolute highlight that Frith ran that race. I mean, she was waving and she had these pigtails bobbing. She looked, and, that record has really stood the test of time. 36 years,
yeah,
that people have struggled to break that record. And really, that for me, a big highlight was that she's my heroine. Of course, you can't say enough about Gerda. Where does anybody break the record at Two Oceans? And we go back to Comrades Marathon law. You can't win Two Oceans and then come along and win Comrades. It's just physical. How's it if we break the record at Two Oceans and then you come to Comrades and break the record again on the down and break a 36-year record? I mean, she's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I was watching Tete at the finish, and he was saying that he's just sorry he broke it by so much, because now he's got to come back and do a heck of a lot better than he did this year, rather than just breaking the record by a minute or 30 seconds or something like that.
David, that to me was also, it's a huge highlight. Imagine if you break the record and you only come third.
I know, this is the ridiculousness. Now, talking about coming third, I see I've just been warned we're running out of time. This is the problem with Zoom. It's like, just when you get into the meat of things, it goes, there's the guy standing with his back to you with a gun raised, waiting to pull the trigger. Tom, is the book readily available as a paper? Well, obviously as a hard copy, because I have one.
Yes,
and so do you.
Is.
And is it available as an ebook and all that type of thing?
It's available in the bookstores now. I use Blue Weaver as my distributor, so it should be in exclusive books now. It is available on Amazon. So I learned how to upload it, so it is available there. And I'm busy putting it into the sports stores now. So all the running shops, they're going in now. So within a week, it will be easily available everywhere.
Great.
Plus, I've got copies myself, so I can post a copy if you need it.
All right. So you can look up Tom. Your website, Tom?
The website is www.runnersguide.co.za.
If you are a Comrades Marathon runner, this book is for you. If you're not a Comrades Marathon runner and you're married to one, this is the book for you. If you're thinking about Comrades Marathon, don't buy the book, because you will run it. No, it's designed to pique the interest, and given what happened in 2023, and I think the amount of viewers and what SuperSport did with the coverage was so spectacular this year, that I think a lot of people have now got renewed interest in the run, in the history of the run, and in the people who have made this race what it is today. The likes of Bruce and Frith and Tete and Gerda, they will go down in the annals of history, aside from the amounts of money that the current runners are winning. Bruce was very non-complimentary about the fact that they didn't get much money. If
He always has
anything,
to get his dig in about that, doesn't he? But they were,
listen,
that was the times then.
that was the times. Those were the times. The book is published by Guidebook Publications. As Thomas said, it is available in all bookstores. Forget the good bookstores. It's available in bad bookstores as well. And get yourself a copy, and read about the history of this absolutely fantastic race. I just only wish that when they'd started it in 1921, they'd run. They should have just run the length of the Durban beachfront, and then the race would have been like 1.5 kilometers. What is this nonsense running Maritzburg to Durban? Tom, it's been wonderful chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you out and about in our suburbs, because we live very close together. And who knows, maybe both of us will don our respective numbers and try the race in 2024.
David, thank you so much. It's really been a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you so much. My guest today on Travel and Things, in association with Sun Destinations, has been Tom Cottrell. The book, once again, Comrades Marathon, 101 Years of Highlights and Heroes, and it's published by Guidebook Publications.